Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie Probst, and I am the Director of Bereavement Services here at Chautauqua Hospice and Palliative Care. And I would like to welcome you to our 2022 Light of Life Memorial Service and Tree Lighting Ceremony. I just want to kind of start by saying something that many of you may be thinking, but reluctant to say out loud. This sucks. This time of year really sucks for a lot of us. It's hard when you see HBO specials and you see the infamous Hallmark movies that are showing people that are overfilling with joy and happiness, and everyone around you seems to be looking forward to celebrating the holiday season. But for many of us, there's the question of, what is it that I'm supposed to celebrate? My person, the person who is at the center of my world, that I love with all of my heart, isn't here. And so there's a question of, why do I want this? Why would I want to put up a Christmas tree and do all of these other things? Christmas is not something that all of us feel like celebrating this year, and I think it is okay for us to acknowledge that. Many of you may be going through your very first holiday season. We've just come off of Thanksgiving, where again, our routine may feel very different this year than it has in the past, and coming fresh off the heels of Thanksgiving, here we are moving into Christmas and then New Year's. There's an awful lot of pressure for us to put on a mask, if you will, for others, to feel like we can't be our authentic self because there's this pressure for us to put on a smile because that's what other people want to see. I think it's okay for us to admit that we can't do things the way that we have in the past. Sometimes, not only is it okay, but it's necessary for us to change the way we get through this time of the year, doing things differently. I'm sure a saying that many of you have heard to the point of ad nauseum is finding a new normal. Now, I know that sounds rather cliche, but there's a lot of truth to it, that when we feel pressured to go back to normal, to be our old selves, these things that other people say to us, it's important for us to note that if we were to go back to normal, our person would be here. So we can't do that. Instead, we need to find a new way of moving forward. And to do that, we have to try new things. Before I get into why we do Light of Life, I just want to show a couple examples of what it is that I'm talking about. This first one, I know I just said we feel like we have to put on a mask for the holiday season. Now, that doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Sometimes wearing a mask can be a very good thing. Sometimes wearing a mask allows ourselves the opportunity to be social in the outside world while protecting the vulnerable part of us that is very, very much hurt on the inside. A mask, of course, this is a literal example from one of our support groups where we talked about what the mask is that each of us wear as we navigate the day-to-day life. And of course, again, this is a literal mask, but sometimes that mask looks more like, anybody who's ever heard me talk in person has heard me say, when somebody asks me, how are you doing? Upright, taking nourishment, looking stupid, nothing's changed. And oftentimes when I say that and someone hears it for the first time, they laugh, and then I change the subject. That's a mask. That's a way of avoiding a question that I don't want to answer. It might look like something along the lines of when somebody asks you, how are you doing? Well, I was doing pretty good, and then I went over to the gas station and got myself a Mountain Dew, which is usually really refreshing. And I took a big old swig of that, and I spit it out because I realized it was diet caffeine-free Mountain Dew. And that's awful. And somebody may look at me and start laughing, and then I change the subject. That's armor. That is a mask. It's a way of avoiding the question of how are you doing today when you don't necessarily want to answer it. Because let's be honest, do we want to answer that question? Do we feel that the person we're talking to has the capacity to listen to an honest answer? Putting on a mask can look like anything. It can look like, as I've said to other people in person before, wearing a shirt with a silly slogan on it. First thing someone notices about me when I wear that shirt is the slogan on my shirt. I can control the conversation. It becomes a tool for helping me navigate a time of the year when I don't necessarily feel my sparkliest. Other things that we can do. Christmas, like I said, there's all this pressure to carry on traditions, to do these things that everyone around us seems to think that we should do. Now, that being said, sometimes it's valuable for us to create our own new traditions, something that perhaps marks the old while doing things in a new way. This is just an example that someone brought into support group a couple weeks ago. It's a cardinal. Now, this wonderful couple was here to remember their son who passed away, and they brought in this huge basket of these lovely cardinals and provided an explanation as to why they did that, because we were all curious. And in many, many places, many people consider a cardinal to be a symbol of their loved one coming to visit them. So perhaps putting cardinals on your Christmas tree. This is just another example. This is a series of prayer ties. Each one of these red cloths contains a prayer. And I have a number of these that are in my office that I've made with some of my clients, people who are hurting this time of the year. And I have to other people suggested, if you don't want to have Christmas ornaments on your tree that were purchased by loved ones that have individual memories attached to them, perhaps instead fill your tree with prayers for yourself and for others, and then at the end of the year, you have all of these prayers that you've collected while wishing other people well. Of course, there's always that pressure for us to come up with gifts, right? 'Tis the season where shopping is kind of in our face at all times. But if you're like many of us grievers, you really don't want to have to be out in public. I used to love going to Walmart at 4 o'clock in the morning because I never had to deal with anybody, and I didn't have to worry about who I might run into and what awkward conversation someone would pull me into. So, of course, now shopping online is one option. But for many of us too, because you've experienced a death, you may also have found that your income has been diminished. You may have gone from 2 incomes down to 1. So maybe you have to be a bit more frugal this year than in the past. Maybe that's an opportunity not just to be frustrated by gift giving and how expensive things are, but an opportunity to find new things, new ways of expressing love towards people that you care about. This is just one example of something that I found recently at a thrift store. It's a metal sphere with all kinds of patterns cut into it. And it's intended for you to put a small gift in to give to somebody that you care about. And in the future, that person would put a gift inside this and re-gift it back to you. Maybe thinking about less commercial gifts and gifts that are more specific to you and the person that you wish to give them to. This time of the year can be an opportunity for many of us to kind of hit the reset button on how we deal with people. Because let's face it, when we've experienced the loss of someone that we love, it changes our priorities. It changes the way we deal with the people around us, and it changes the way we cherish people in our lives. I think it's exceptionally important for us to have rituals this time of the year. Things that help us to set aside time where we can honor our deceased loved one and make sure that we talk to them. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter if somebody is no longer physically in our life. We always carry love for them, and they are always a part of our life no matter what. I've seen many people choose to light a candle in memory of their loved one and then use that lit candle as an opportunity to talk to their deceased loved one. When you've finished saying what it is that you want to say, you extinguish the candle and you put it away. But doing this on a regular basis can help you to feel like you have a continued connection to your loved one during this holiday season. Something else that we can do, and I know anybody who's ever come to support group or come to see me here at the office has heard me talk about mental health first aid kits. Now go ahead and laugh if you want, but the first example that I'm going to pull out is a coloring book. Just like every one of us likely or should have a first aid kit in our house or in our car so that when you have an unexpected injury of a physical nature, you have the tools that you need to help heal yourself. I encourage all of us to think about doing the very same thing, but for our mental health. Having a bag that's filled with things that can help distract you when you feel overwhelmed, that can help you to ground yourself when you're feeling a little bit floaty and like the situation at hand might be too much for you, and things that just in general help to reinstill a sense of hope in yourself. Like I mentioned, this is one example, but other things, one of our lovely nurses actually gave this one to me because humor is important too. This is a series of different flip pages. I will not show it just in case I offend anybody, but this whole book is a series of flip pages and you can put them together to come up with creative curse words. And sometimes something as simple as that can be an effective tool for starting your day when you're grieving and helping you have something to look forward to. Coming up with a new word and then figuring out how you're going to use it through the day. But I also have other items in here that are much more specific to me. Some other things that you might try in your first aid kit could be something as simple as a small card game that you can play with somebody when you have some downtime. It could be something as simple as some hand cream, something that has a nice smell to it, but also when you put it on your hand, it's a very sensory experience and it helps you to, again, reground yourself when you're upset. It's exceptionally important that we go into the holiday season with a plan. I know many of us would just like to go to sleep and not wake up until after the first of the year, but that's not really feasible. So instead, go into this time of the year with a plan for how you think you'd like to manage it, give yourself tools, and carry your tools with you everywhere you go so that you feel more capable and more equipped. Think about it like a journey. Now again, with the cliches, I know. Lots of people talk about grief like it's a journey, but it is a journey. It is a lifelong journey. And anytime you're going to go on a journey anywhere, whether it's on foot or in a car or by plane, no matter the distance, all of us make sure that we take a bag that has all of our necessities in it. If we're in the car, we make sure we fill it up with gas. We make sure we have snacks. We make sure we have our wallets with us. And in the same way, when we're going on our grief journey, it's important that we bring with us tools that help us to navigate that experience. One of those tools can be hospice. For those who don't know, we have comprehensive grief support services for everyone in the community, regardless of whether you've had a loved one on services or not. We have counseling available to anyone in the community, again, regardless of whether you've had a loved one on our services, and also regardless of how long ago that loss was. We also have ongoing support groups. We have the ability to link you with other agencies when necessary, and we have a large collection of tools that we can help give you to equip you for this journey. Most importantly, we want you to know that you don't have to walk this grief journey on your own, that we have staff available, that we have people here who will listen when you're having a bad day, that can answer questions about, is my experience normal? And we will be with you in whatever capacity we can to help you on this journey. That being said, this is a dark time of the year. It gets dark at, 5:05 now? I don't know about you, but I hate having hands that are cold. I hate stepping in a wet puddle in, my kitchen when I come in and take my shoes off. It's dark, it's dreary, and when we're already hurting and we're already experiencing intense grief, it just seems to amplify the feelings that we have. That being said, I am a big fan of making as much light around me as possible. When you go into the season knowing it's going to be difficult, surround yourself with light. And also surround yourself with the awareness that death does not end a relationship. Death might physically take somebody out of your life, but death does not at any time ever have the ability to extinguish a relationship. We carry our loved one with us everywhere we go, and that relationship and the love we have for that person will endure no matter how much time passes, no matter what happens, and no matter where you go. So that being said, while you're missing your person this time of the year, find opportunities to plug them into the holiday season. Find opportunities to make them a part of your holiday experience and be unapologetic about it. Outside our office, as of today, and all the way through the end of January, we will have 4 towers that are lit up in the evenings and will contain the names of loved ones that we are honoring and remembering all through this holiday season. At any time, you are welcome to pop by during the day and check them out, or you can also pop by in the evening, and that's when they will be lit up. We also have programs available that contain the names of those that we are honoring, and you are welcome to stop by and pick up a copy at any time. If ever you feel like you want to talk to us, come on over. We'd love to have you in our home, and any one of us is always willing to sit and talk to you about your grief experience. So that being said, let's go outside and go check out the towers. And thank you for joining us tonight.